Now say this out loud as you're driving around in your car.
Join SportsSkillet.
This what it feels like.
So how do you like it?
So what is it? I'm curious.
You like it like this?
My God, do we love football.
Or like this?
I love the sport of baseball.
And what about this?
You can have a sports show without all the vicious talk.
Simple human decency.
Whatever it is that you like.
Yeah, I like chaos.
We've got it covered.
Right?
It's sports the way you like it.
My friends, you may not know this. It's got everything you want.
Here we go. Local and national sports talk that's fresh, in season, and FDA approved. If it's hot, you'll find it cooking with Jeff, Jay, and Kelly. They don't just stir the pot, they add more flavor than the other guys. Get ready to dig in and taste some Sports Skillet.
Tastes good.
Right now.
And welcome everyone once again to the SportsSkillet LiveStream right here on YouTube. And we've got a great show lined up for you. We're going to be talking some Phillies, some Eagles, some Mets, some Giants, as we normally do, and some NASCAR as well. We had a big incident go down, I believe, yesterday or the day before, involving...
It was yesterday.
Yesterday?
It was yesterday, Jerry.
Yep. Involving a well-known NASCAR driver, so we'll get into that as well. And again, we want to encourage you to comment on our YouTube page, comment on our Twitter account, Facebook account, Instagram account. Also, we do a live show every Sunday from Fox Sports Radio, 920 The Jersey. You can also go to our website and download our app as well, so you don't miss any of the content of the SportsSkillet radio show. And we have a live Twitter feed up on there as well, so you can keep up on all the news and all the goings on with SportsSkillet. And as always, I am Jay, and I'm joined in the studio by Mike and Jeff. How are you guys doing today?
I'm doing pretty well, considering the Mets won last night, but bullpen almost blew it again. Ugh.
Almost. See, that's the key, though, Mike. That's the key. They almost blew it.
I was literally flipping out in my room after those 3 home runs in the bottom of the ninth.
But the key is they did win the game.
That's what's key.
You know, that's what's key, is that they almost blew it. Because you do want to, because the Mets right now are embroiled in the race for a wild card position in the National League. So, the Phillies need to win, the Mets need to win, the Nationals need to win. And then you've got in the Central a bunch of other teams. You've got the Cubs.
You got the Cardinals.
Yep. And there,
Pirates are out of it.
I would tend to agree with you there. I don't see.
They're back to being the Pirates of old.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that. I don't see the Pirates having any postseason opportunities there. Unfortunately,
The loss of McCutchen set them back 5 years.
Yeah, and I think the addition of McCutchen for the Phillies, at least in the beginning of the season when he was healthy, helped out the Phillies. You look at the West, I don't know that anybody from the West are going to get the wild card position. You got Arizona, who's currently 3.5 games out of the wild card. I don't see them.
No one's catching the Dodgers.
No one's catching the Dodgers. Dodgers have had the Division One for a while. I mean, when you're 19.5 games ahead of the second place team, that division race is over, and you can start planning for the postseason. Getting ready for that. But the Central Division, that's up for grabs in any number of ways. You got right now, as we tape this on a Friday, you've got St. Louis and Chicago tied for the division lead. You got the Milwaukee Brewers, who are a game and a half back of those two teams. And both those two teams are still in the wild card hunt. Milwaukee is a game out. Cubs are tied for the wild card, as are St. Louis. And then we go ahead and we look at the Eastern Division. Braves pretty much, I think, have the division wrapped up in the East.
Just like the Braves of the 90s. Chipper Jones, Andrew Jones, Jeff Kent.
Yep.
John Smoltz.
John Smoltz, Greg Maddux. Yep, all those
Just
guys.
like the Braves teams I remember.
Yep, and they're 5.5 games ahead of Washington. I don't see Washington catching the Braves. Phillies are 8 games behind the Braves, so the Phillies are essentially done for the division race. I don't see the Phillies catching Atlanta, but we've got a hotbed for the wild card. All these teams are in there, and I said to Jeff last night at the Phillies game, I think the National League is more, he referred to it as being mediocre, but I think the National League, when you look at it, is more, I won't say mediocre, but I will say more competitive than the American League. The talent is kind of spread out amongst a wide variety of teams. And whereas you look at the American League and you have just a couple of teams that are right up there, and then everybody else is pretty much out of it. In the American League, you have
of course the Yankees, who can buy and sell whoever they want.
The Yankees pretty much have the division won, 9.5 games ahead of Tampa Bay. So Tampa Bay isn't going to come back and win the division from the Yankees.
Boston isn't coming back.
Boston 17 games behind the Yankees. I'm sure Boston fans don't like that, but Boston is not winning the division.
Orioles. They've been done since April.
Orioles, yeah, exactly. Orioles have been done since the beginning of the season. 41 games. How would you like to be an Orioles fan? 41 games behind the New York Yankees for the division.
I don't see them winning more than 60.
39 games? I would agree with you, Mike. I would actually agree with you there. I don't think they get anywhere near 60. I would be, if I was an Oriole fan and they got to 50, I would be doing cartwheels. I don't even know that they get to 50, because right now we're taping this on Friday, August 16th. Baltimore only has 39 wins. I don't know that they get to 50. They may not get out of the 40s the way that Baltimore is aligned right now.
I think they get to 60, but no further.
I don't know. I don't think they get to 60. I got to tell you.
60
I
wins
smell a
for
bet coming on here.
60 wins for
60?
Baltimore
No 60.
would be a good season. 60 and 102 would be a good season for Baltimore.
It would be. I would be doing cartwheels.
Considering what happened to them last year, 45 and 117.
Yeah, I mean, I think they may do because we got about a month left in the season. They may be able to squeak in some wins, so maybe they get around that 45 win. They're at 39, so maybe they get around that 45 win total.
45,
I'm going to say
42,
win. If anything.
42, you think?
42. I'm going to try.
That would be a really bad ending of the season for Baltimore.
That would be 1962 Mets.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about that.
Well, we can, because the Mets were, kind
Do
of.
not talk 1962 Mets.
We can.
That was the worst team ever.
We can, but then they became the 69 Mets when they won the World Series. So, it kind of built to a crescendo there,
But I do not see Baltimore getting to 70 or 90 wins anytime soon. Probably not until 2022.
If then. Then you got Minnesota and Cleveland over there. Cleveland.
Minnesota's got a good young core. Cleveland's got a good core of veterans. Chicago White Sox, they've been done since June.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you there.
They've got a good 4 or 5 years before they're contenders again.
Yep.
We got to also look at Houston. Houston.
I'm
just giving the World Series to the Astros at this point.
It's going to be interesting. to see Houston if they go to battle with the New York Yankees, because I think the Yankees have the offense in the American League, but Houston has the pitching staff. And it'll be interesting if those two teams face off maybe in the American League Championship Series, if those two teams get there, because you have the powerful Yankee offense. I don't like the Yankee pitching staff too much. Houston obviously has a much better pitching staff than the Yankees do, but that would be a very interesting battle between those two teams. Houston does have a pretty good offense as well. So to me, that's kind of the two teams coming out of the American League. And then in the National League, unless something goes kind of haywire, I look at Atlanta and I look at Los Angeles kind of battling it out in the National League. I don't think the Phillies have the pitching staff to sustain them for any kind of a successful postseason run. They may get one of the wild cards. I've been saying for a while, for about the past month, that I think the Mets are going to finish ahead of the Phillies.
You've been saying that since the middle of July.
Exactly.
And looking at Atlanta and their postseason history since their World Series loss to New York, they're going to choke. The Atlanta Braves are going to choke in the postseason. They're going to get past the wild card game, but not the NLDS. They will lose in the NLDS to the Chicago Cubs.
Really? Now, see, now we got a debate going on here, because I sat back and I watched the Chicago Cubs last night, and in fact, all three games of this past series lose convincingly to the Philadelphia Phillies. And last night was just a kick in the gut to the Chicago Cubs. And this is something that I really wanted to get into today on the live stream, because everybody is going bonkers and crazy and shouting to the rooftops and the mountains about the return of Charlie Manuel. I sat back and I watched the Phillies for 7 innings last night look absolutely pathetic offensively. It was just a rough night. To a Phillies fan, it was a boring game. The Chicago Cubs going into the 8th inning had Yu Darvish at the end of 7 innings. The Chicago Cubs had Yu Darvish on the mound. He had thrown 95 pitches, hadn't walked a batter, had allowed just 4 hits, struck out 10, was absolutely dominating the Phillies last night.
Just like he was in Texas.
And for some unexplained reason, Joe Madden, the Cubs manager, pulled him after the 7th inning.
That's a Callaway move.
That is a Callaway move. Exactly.
What the blank?
Exactly. That's
a Callaway move.
It is. And pulled Yu Darvish when every Cubs fan, everybody in the stadium was expecting Darvish to go out, at least start the 8th inning, because he had a 5-0 lead. He had allowed just 4 hits, hadn't walked a batter, was below 100 pitches, was at 95. Why do you pull Yu Darvish in that situation is beyond me. But Madden pulled him, and consequently, you know what happened next.
He blew the game.
Phillies scored a run in the bottom of the 8th inning. So going into the bottom of the 9th inning, Phillies were trailing 5-1. And then the floodgates opened, and you had balls going off of the second baseman's glove, and all these mistakes by the Cubs infielders, and all of a sudden that set up Bryce Harper for the go-ahead game-winning grand slam home run. But as much as I credit, and I will give credit to the Philly offense and for the Philly players for not giving up, for having some good at-bats, for putting the ball in play, and for getting on base, and for winning the game, and I credit them for not giving up and showing resiliency and heart. I got to say, the winner for the Phillies MVP for last night, as much as it was Bryce Harper, it was just as much, if not more, Joe Madden. Because if Joe Madden had not pulled Yu Darvish, the Phillies would not have won the game. If Joe Madden had looked with his eyes and went with his gut and went with the feel of the game, Phillies lose that game. Maybe it was 5. Maybe it would have been 5-2. Maybe it would have been 5-3. But you put Yu Darvish out there in the bottom of the 8th inning. You allow him to pitch. You allow him to open the inning. Maybe you let Yu Darvish throw 110, 115, 120 pitches. But I can guarantee you the Phillies were doing nothing against Darvish, and Madden pulls him. Didn't walk a batter. Only allowed 4 hits. I mean, if this had been on the Philly side, phone lines would be burning up. People would be going crazy. People would be absolutely beside themselves, as I'm sure Cubs fans are, watching that last night, watching that Titanic home run by Bryce Harper. It was absolutely crazy at Citizens Bank Ballpark last night.
Jay, maybe Madden was just feeling sorry for the Phillies. It's like, you know what? We're going to give him this one. Let them see. Let's see what they
Jeff, Joe Madden's a good manager. He's a great manager, but
which is why
he pulled a Callaway move. That was a Callaway move, and that's just unforgivable.
But he was being nice.
I should know. I have to deal with Mickey Callaway, a pitching coach with no managerial experience, as my favorite team's manager. Oh my God!
He just wanted to give the Phillies fans something. It's like, you know what? They're losing so bad. It's like we got to give them something.
No.
I'm Joe Madden. I'm doing it.
That's not Joe Madden's style, though. I would have left Darvish in for the 8th inning. I would have let him pitch the 8th.
They would have, like you're saying, Jay. They would have crushed them. He didn't want to crush him. He was like, let him go out with some dignity.
No. I would have let Darvish pitch the 8th, and if all was going well, let him pitch the 9th.
Exactly. See, that's how any rational person thinks.
But this is Joe Madden.
Exactly.
How many video games does he have? He can do whatever he wants, okay? That's all I'm saying.
No, see, that would be John Madden.
Wrong Madden. Spells his name differently.
I know that.
But here is the replay call from last night.
2-2 with the bases loaded and 1 out. Oh my God! Deep to right field, way up there and way out of here. Second deck walk-off home run. Grand slam, Bryce Harper. Wow! The Phillies have come from behind to win it 7-5. 6 runs here in the bottom of the 9th inning. A remarkable come-from-behind victory. It's a stunned Cubs team that has been swept out of Philadelphia. Soak in all the shots.
And, of course, that was courtesy of Comcast Sportsnet, NBC Sports Philadelphia, Tom McCarthy and John Kruk calling that Titanic shot by Bryce Harper last night. Walk-off grand slam home run. Bryce Harper seems to be heating up just a little bit.
It was in that moment Joe Madden knew he royally screwed up.
Yes. Absolutely. And that loss if Joe Madden's job wasn't lost before that grand slam home run by Bryce Harper may have just cost Joe Madden any chance, any little,
any chance at saving his job,
any little hope, any little prayer that he would have at saving his job, that grand slam home run by Bryce Harper probably cost him.
Do you think he lost all the respect?
Here's the thing, and we'll be talking about this on the show Sunday. Jeff said on the way home, not you, Jeff,
I know
but
your brother, Jeff.
My brother, Jeff, said on the way home, you know what? He was like, you know what? I know what people say about Joe Maddon's teams being always in the hunt, always being in contention, but he's been hearing it all year from one of our friends. We call him Frank the Cubs fan. He's been hearing it all year about how much Frank the Cubs fan hates and despises Joe Maddon for these cute moves that he does. And Jeff said on the way home last night that, you know what? Yeah, you can say that Joe Maddon gets his teams in contention and has them in contention and gets them right there on the cusp of a playoff spot, if not in the playoffs. But Jeff was like, you know what? You can have Joe Maddon. I don't want him as my as my manager. So that's the way Jeff feels about it. He does not want Joe Maddon at all.
Hey, let me ask you something, Jay.
Sure.
Since we're talking about managers, do you think this might save Kapler?
It's a possibility because I want to talk about this on the other side with you, too, because I think that the prevailing sentiment is if the Phillies make the playoffs, Kapler comes back next year. But I want to talk a little bit more with you about that. We're going to take a little commercial break right now. Let you catch your breath a little bit. Again, comment on our social media pages, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. We want to hear from you. Head over to our website, SportsSkilletRadio.com. And reminder, we've got a great opportunity for you. If you want to go head-to-head in a pick'em league with Hall of Fame quarterback Joe Montana, we're offering you this opportunity. It's a great opportunity. All you have to do is follow us on Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. Go to our pages. Give us a follow there. Sign up to our Pick'em League, which is up and active. And once you do those two things, we'll send you out the link so that you can pick games this season against Hall of Fame quarterback Joe Montana. Do you think you have what it takes to pick games better than Hall of Fame quarterback Joe Montana? All you have to do is follow us on our social media accounts, and it doesn't have to be all three. You can pick one, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, or subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss our live stream or anything that we have on our YouTube channel. Once you do that, go into our league, our Pick'em League, the SportsSkillet League. Just do a search for it. We're right there. And once you do both those two things, we'll send you out a link so that you can pick games against Joe Montana. And you can have some fun in doing that. Again, a great opportunity only offered by the SportsSkillet Radio Show. So right now we're going to take a quick break. We will come back on the other side. We are going to bring in Pat Ragazzo from Metsmerized.com, Fansided, and the Giants Wire. We're going to talk with him. So stay tuned. Pat Ragazzo, some New York sporting talk on the way. And we'll be right back after this.
Now say this out loud as you're driving around in your car.
Join SportsSkillet.
Just what it feels like.
So how do you like it?
So what is it? I'm curious.
You like it like this?
My God, do we love football.
Or like this?
I love the sport of baseball.
And what about this?
You can have a sports show without all the vicious talk.
Simple human decency.
Whatever it is that you like.
Yeah, I like chaos.
We've got it covered.
Right?
It's sports the way you like it.
My friends, you may not know this. It's got everything you want.
Here we go. Local and national sports talk that's fresh, in season, and FDA approved. If it's hot, you'll find it cooking with Jeff, Jay, and Kelly. They don't just stir the pot, they add more flavor than the other guys. Get ready to dig in and taste some Sports Skillet.
Ooh, tastes good.
Right now.
Okay, and we are back on the SportsSkillet radio show every Friday afternoon. Thank you for joining us. And reminder, we are also go live every Sunday at 11 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio at 920 The Jersey. I am Jay, and I've got Mike and Jeff in the studio here with me as well. And right now we are going to bring into the conversation, as we do every week, Pat Ragazzo. You can check out Pat's work at USA Today Sports and Fansided.com. Also, Metsmerized.com and the Giants Wire. And as always, we encourage you to give Pat a follow at Ragazzo Report. Pat, how are you doing today?
Jay, I'm great. How are you? Another week.
Another week, more Giants talk, more Mets talk, but I want to ask you a question. Are you ready?
Shoot. Yeah, shoot.
Okay, here we go. So last night, I'm sitting at Citizens Bank Park, right? And I'm watching the Phillies take on the Chicago Cubs. Now, as we both know, Chicago is embroiled in a bitter fight in the Central with the St. Louis Cardinals and Milwaukee Brewers. The three teams are battling head-to-head for the division, if not a wild card. So the Chicago Cubs had lost the previous two games to the Philadelphia Phillies. So the Chicago Cubs really, really, really needed this game to get back on track and to get some positivity going as they depart Citizens Bank Park last night. Okay, so we go to the eighth inning, and Yu Darvish had been pitching a masterpiece. He was really pitching well, and he had pitched 7 full innings, was only at 95 pitches, okay, and had struck out 10, hadn't walked a batter, and only allowed 4 hits throughout the 7 innings. So, do you allow him to go out for the bottom of the 8th inning?
At 98 pitches?
95 pitches, no walks, 10 Ks, and only 4 hits.
And how did he look in the 7th? Did he get by easier?
7th, he looked pretty good.
It was pretty good. He didn't look like he was running out of gas?
Nope, not at all.
I think at this point in the season, I would have left him in the 8th, at least to face a batter or two, and if he couldn't make it, just have guys warm up in the bullpen and pull him, keep him on a short leash.
And might I add, at the time, the score was 5-0 Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, you might as well. 5-0, though, at the same time, that you could bring in one of your lower men on the totem pole in the bullpen, just to give, Darvish pitched a great game, but at the same time, I probably would have given him at least a batter or two. And, obviously there's more room for him to, at least go out there and attempt to make it through the 8th, even if he gave up, say, a home run. And at the same time, too, this is the time of the year where you push your starters, to go late in games. So, yeah, I think that I would have left him out there for a batter or two in the 8th, and if he ran out of gas, pull the string on him if he couldn't make it through the first batter or two he faced.
Okay, so I would agree with you. Most, I think, right-thinking people would agree with you. Jeff and I were saying the same thing at the game last night. And so Joe Madden pulls him. I think the Cubs fans were going crazy at that point when they didn't see Yu Darvish come out for the bottom of the 8th inning. The Cubs then allowed a run in the bottom of the 8th. And then in the bottom of the 9th, with the Cubs leading 5-0, Yu Darvish long gone from the game because Joe Madden had pulled him. That led to this.
Oh, computers.
2-2 with the bases loaded and 1 out. Oh my God! Deep to right field, way people come from behind victory. It's a stunned Cubs team that has been swept out of Philadelphia.
And there you go. And that's what it led to.
Wow, that was an epic comeback.
You know, and that's what it led to because Joe Madden pulled Yu Darvish. And like Jeff and I were both saying, why pull Yu Darvish in that situation? I would have just let him go, even if it got a little closer. If he allowed 1 or 2 or even 3 runs, just allow him to pitch the 8th inning. If he, like you said, if he got into some trouble and he started tiring out or wearing out, you have a bullpen, but at least allow him to go out for the bottom of the 8th inning.
Yeah, I mean the Cubs back end of the bullpen's pretty shaky. Was that Craig Kimbrell who blew that, or?
No, actually, it was another one of the Cubs relievers that blew it. Kimbrell is currently working his way back from the injured list.
That's right. Yeah. Well, that's a bad loss for the Cubs, and I would be concerned if I was a Cubs fan, moving forward. I never agree with managers pulling their pitchers too early, and there was a similar situation in the Mets-Braves game on Wednesday night, which cost the Mets a win. Steven Matz was cruising along, had retired 14 straight. Mickey Callaway left him in to bat for himself in the top of the 7th, and he got a hit and scored a run for the go-ahead run. And he only had 79 pitches, and Mickey pulled him for Seth Lugo in the 7th inning, which, ironically enough, Seth Lugo has been pitching the 8th and 9th innings and getting 6-out saves recently. And Mickey put him in the 7th when he pulled his starter way to about 20 pitches too early when he was cruising along. So, inevitably, Seth Lugo did not have his curveball that night. It was clear that he didn't have his stuff, and Mickey, again, as he does with Lugo, whenever Lugo doesn't have his curveball, keeps him in there until it's too late, and he gave up 4 runs, and the Mets wound up losing. The Mets actually had a comeback in the 9th there, but they fell short, and they wound up losing by 2 runs because Mickey, 1, made the wrong move putting Lugo in. He was over-managing, and 2, he waited too long to pull him.
Like I said earlier about Madden's move to pull Darvish, it was a Callaway move.
Yeah, it did look like a Callaway move.
It was a total Callaway move.
Yeah, and the real concern here is these games are huge down the stretch with how tight the National League wildcard race is right now, and it's probably going to be decided by a game or two, whoever winds up in the top 2 spots. And now the Mets, after their win last night, they're 2 games back, but Callaway almost blew it again last night. Mets were up 10-3, and he put in Drew Gagno, and again, the leash was too long for Gagno. He kept Gagno in, who gave up about 6 runs, and then Edwin Diaz came in and gave up a run or 2, and Mets wound up only winning by 2 runs. It got way too close in the end, and he's got to do a better job at this bullpen management. It's really, really a big concern for this team down the stretch. I know it's been covered up in the last 2 weeks because they went on a 15 out of 16 win stretch, but at the same time, Callaway's in-game blunders managing this team have been a major concern. And even after the game on Wednesday night when he blew it with Lugo and pulling Matz, he said he would make that move 100 out of 100 times because Matz was tired from running around the bases. He gave up 3 hard-hit balls in a 1-2-3 inning, the inning prior. Now, when a manager makes a statement like that, maybe he shouldn't be managing a baseball team if he make that move 100 out of 100 times.
It's a move I would never, ever make. I would have kept Matz in for the 8th, and if all was going well, possibly the 9th.
I agree with you. And Matz was pitching the best game of the season against one of the best team that he's faced. And in a huge, huge game to where they possibly could have stole 2 out of 3. They wound up losing 2 out of 3 in Atlanta. It was a big. It was huge for them to at least take 1 game there last night, but at least avoiding the sweep. But it would have been.
It would have been bigger if they had taken 2.
For them to sneak in a 2 out of 3 series win, and they could have squeaked by with that win in game 2 if it was properly managed. But again, time and time again, that's been an issue with Callaway, and that's kind of been the contradictory of this little run that they've had. It's kind of in spite of him that he's not a good manager.
And as you said, this is the time of year where we start to see managers push their pitchers, teams push their pitchers further and further into games. This is the wild card run. This is the run for the division.
Well, I don't know that the Mets are going to win the division. I think we can agree.
It is possible considering Atlanta's history. They choked.
Pat, no chance for the Mets winning the division, right?
I mean, there's no sights on the division right now, but at the same time, I believe the division lead is about 7 or 8 games right now, and anything's possible. That the Nationals could creep up on them. The Braves haven't played the best baseball, and they've had some injuries, but I mean, they look pretty strong in this series against the Mets. But at the same time, you never know; anything could happen. They have struggles in the back of their bullpen. Shane Green has not been good since they acquired him. Mark Melanson was shaky the other night. There's some real concerns there in the back end of the Braves bullpen, especially in the 8th and 9th inning.
Interesting. Now, the Mets are going to be playing the Royals this weekend. Then the schedule kind of turns a little bit. They've got the Indians coming in and the Braves, Cubs, and then they finish the month out with the Phillies. How do you project the Mets are going to do when the schedule kind of turns on them?
Well, for starters, they need to take care of business this weekend against Kansas City. They're one of the league's worst teams, and but at the same time, they're no pushover. It's kind of like a Marlins situation where there's always, the Marlins always give the Mets the fits, and we know the Royals historically have given the Mets fits, and they need to handle their business and hopefully come away with a sweep. That's the hope, is that they'll sweep them, but at the same time, you must win 2 out of 3 games, and then we'll take it. Got to take it game by game. From there, they have the red-hot Cleveland Indians coming into Citi Field, and they're playing the Cubs in this stretch. But the Cubs struggled, just got swept by the Phillies, and
Yep.
the Mets could have easily taken 3 out of 4 from them if it wasn't for Callaway's managerial blunders in Chicago in June, and this was even a different team back then. This was before their turnaround. So I think that they just need to take care of their own business and take it day by day.
Precisely. I see the Mets sweeping the Royals. I can see them taking 2 of 3 from Chicago, possibly taking 2 of 3 from Atlanta, and possibly taking all 3 from Philadelphia. It's the Indian series that I'm most worried about. The
Indians are the hottest team in the league right now.
Yeah, I see them at least taking 1 from Cleveland, possibly 2, but no sweep of Cleveland. If we can take 2 or 3 from Cleveland, we'll be in good shape heading into September and the final stretch.
If you told me that they could take 2 out of 3 from Cleveland right now, I'd say sign me up.
There you go.
It's a possibility. Anything is possible. I'd love to see them take 2 or 3 or possibly sweep Cleveland, but taking 1 would be an achievement. Red Hot Indians.
Here's a funny little tidbit too. On this exact date, 3 years ago in 2016, when the Mets went on their run and stole the wild card spot, they were only a game above 500, and on this date they're 3 games above, and they were 3 back of the second wild card, and today they're 2 games back.
Oh snap!
So
yeah, well, this team arguably has more talent. Maybe they had a better bullpen back 3 years ago, but at the same time, this team definitely has more talent with Alonso, and of course McNeil now hit the IL, which is a concern. But the Mets have an off day Monday, and basically they just need to get through this series, and then they'll only probably be without McNeil for 3 more games. They kind of dodged the bullet there. He needs to take it easy, though. He was busting it out of the box when they were down 2 runs in the 9th inning under dribbler, and he's had lower leg issues this year, and the Mets need him, refreshed for this stretch run. So maybe this IL trip winds up being a good thing.
Being a blessing in disguise.
The rest that he needs, and hopefully he'll be energized for the postseason push and be there the whole way.
Can you talk about Alonso a little bit? He just tied the rookie home run record. How much of a blessing he has been for the New York Mets?
He has been a major blessing for the Mets this year. He's been a pleasant surprise. We knew he had power. We knew he was capable of, maybe 25 to 30 home runs, but that's a lot even asking for a rookie, despite the season he had in the minors last year when he led all hitters in minors and the majors in home runs and RBIs. This kid's the real deal, and it's not only is he the real deal, but he really had a tremendous year, and he's chasing the rookie. He tied the National League rookie home run record, but now he's chasing the overall Aaron Judge 52 mark. And when Alonso's on, when he's hot, this team is energized around him. He fires them up. He's already a clear leader on the team and in this clubhouse. And if he's hot the rest of the way, watch out for the Mets.
And how much would it mean for the New York Mets and for the New York Mets fans if he did surpass Aaron Judge's record?
I think it would mean a lot, but at the same time, the fans just want to see Alonso, keep raking and propel the team into the postseason. I know that's what he cares about the most, and that's what the fans care about the most.
You wouldn't think that, there would be a little bit of pride just seeing him pass Judge's record for the Mets?
Oh, no, absolutely. There would be some pride and some excitement there, but at the same time, the individual records aren't as important as, the team goal.
We've been in Philadelphia. The talk has been about firing Gabe Kapler, and he looked to be on his way out before it was believed John Middleton, the owner, made this stunning move this past week, bringing back Charlie Manuel into the dugout as a hitting coach. I think we saw it a little bit with the Mets when they made the change and they revamped their pitching coaches a little bit, brought in a new voice. Charlie Manuel was a new voice into the Phillies dugout, and the hitting has kind of taken off a little bit since Charlie Manuel has been in the dugout. How important do you think making these subtle changes have been to both teams?
I think they've been major, enhancements to these teams. And Phil Reagan, the Mets have one of the best pitching staffs in the league since Phil Reagan took over. And, he worked with every pitcher in the minor league system for the Mets for the last 10 years and helped these guys develop, and know how they pitch and know what works, know what doesn't work better than Dave Island. And at the same time, the Phillies, I think, made a similar move, as you just mentioned. And, I think it was the right move that a guy like Charlie Manuel, who had success in the Phillies organization in the past 20 years and won a World Series with them in 2008. I think that this is exactly what Gabe Kapler needed and what the hitters needed. They needed a different, opinion and point of view, and it seems to be right now.
Yeah, I would say so. And I think it's important if you have a rookie, I wouldn't necessarily say a rookie, but like a first or a second-year manager that's big on analytics and that type of thing, like I think Kapler and Callaway are, to have that veteran voice in the clubhouse that they can kind of lean on.
Yeah, it definitely helps out, and this is why people got excited when the Mets hired Jim Riggleman to be bench coach in the offseason, because it definitely helps having as much managerial experience around the dugout, at once, and it always helps with guys. These guys have been around the game for a very long time, and they know what it takes to be a winner, and they know how to to develop players. So it definitely helps, and I agree with that philosophy.
And just a different voice. Like you have the analytics guys as manager, and just that baseball savant. Like go with your gut, and not necessarily move the lineup around, maybe steady the lineup a little bit, or if somebody's hot, keep them in the lineup. Things that we are used to as baseball fans.
I agree with that. And speaking of analytics, what frustrates me is that Mickey Callaway made a comment last night about his bullpen usage, and he said that he throws out, that he said all the analytics he goes will throw out in these situations. And those are the scenarios that you need them the most, and that's what kills him. And if a guy really is that careless about it, and disregards something that's really important to the game nowadays, and the successful team utilize it the most, then he shouldn't be managing a baseball team.
Exactly. And one of the things my brother Jeff said on the way home last night, what he said was, you know what, for all the good that Joe Maddon does and for getting his teams into pennant races and occasionally winning those pennant races and going into the postseason, he's like, you can have him as your manager because Joe Maddon is just so frustrating, just staying with the analytics and not on occasion going with his guts. And he definitely cost the Cubs a win last night.
Yeah, no, he did. And that's what happens when even like when you're a successful manager, I mean, that you can still have your bad days and your stubbornness and your own ego from your mistakes can lead you to be overconfident. And I believe that's what happened with Madden. That's what happened to me, despite how good he is as a manager.
Yep, definitely. And want to switch over real quick with you to the New York Giants. What did you take out of their first preseason game? Where do you think they stand so far in the preseason?
So my takeaway from the first preseason game was, of course, Daniel Jones was perfect, 5 for 5 with a nice touchdown on his first drive. Wish I could have seen some more out of him, but there was a major rain delay. I was actually at that game. Jones, there was an over-under bet, bet $10 to win 50, that he would throw an interception in his debut. And he said he came out and instead of looking nervous like everyone expected, he looked the complete opposite. He looked like a seasoned 5-year veteran where he was making snap all his throws, and was very, very decisive and, was very fast in his progressions and putting the ball wherever he wanted. I know people said, tried to denounce this notion that he had a good debut by saying, he was playing against the Jets number 2s. But at the same time, he was missing his top 3 offensive weapons in Evan Ingram, Sterling Shepard, and Saquon Barkley. So it was a positive sign what I saw out of Jones last week, but I'm very excited to see more out of him as we progress. And of course, the Giants are playing the Bears tonight, so hopefully you can expect Jones to at least play a quarter, hopefully.
And that's another thing that we've been getting into, especially in Philadelphia. How much do you play your starters in the preseason or even the backups now? Because it looks like the Philadelphia Eagles are going to have to go out and find somebody to be a backup quarterback. They've gotten 2 of their backup quarterbacks hurt already. They're down to their 3rd string quarterback right now. So how much would you play a backup quarterback or how much would you play Eli?
Well, the Giants have Daniel Jones, Alex Tanney, and Kyle Lauletta. So, and they cut Eric Dungy from Syracuse too, who they could always, call back because I don't believe he signed out for the team. So Eli, they need to be pretty cautious, and of course I would be cautious with Daniel Jones too, and I think they have been. That's why he only played the 1 series last week. But at the same time, yeah, I think that I don't think Saquon Barkley should play this preseason. I don't think Sterling Shepard should, and I would make sure I would limit Evan Ingram too, who also did the best in them. So yeah, you got to be very cautious because football's a violent game, and there's injuries in every single game. There's injuries, guys are coming away banged up and or even possibly suffering a serious injury. So as for the Eagles, do you think they could call Colin Kaepernick?
The question is handle the backlash of Colin Kaepernick if he signs.
See, and that's where I don't think the Eagles are going to call Colin Kaepernick because they're only expecting their backup quarterback to be out a couple of weeks into the regular season. He should be back probably around week 3. So if you go out and you sign Colin Kaepernick, you're guaranteeing his salary for the entire season, which I don't know that the Eagles necessarily want to do. They just want to try and maybe get through training camp. So in order to get through training camp and the preseason, these next couple of games, they're probably going to try and just scrape somebody off the scrap heap somewhere just to kind of bring them in. And this guy, that whoever it is that they find, or maybe they give away a late round draft pick for, something like that. I see them going in. I see this guy coming in with the knowledge of, I'm going to play 2 preseason games and that's going to be about it. And then I'm done. Or, I just want to get something on tape so I can show the other NFL teams that, hey, I can perform at the NFL level. But I don't see the Eagles going out and investing in Kaepernick when they know that their backup is going to be back maybe 2 or 3 weeks into the regular season.
One interesting option too for the Eagles is Kyle Shermer. Pat Shermer's son is quarterback from Vanderbilt, and he, I believe, is in Kansas City right now, and he's like 3rd or 4th on the depth chart. And, he wasn't a bad player in college. He could be worth giving a look. Might as well give him a look, as a backup, and maybe he could be the backup for Wentz in the first 2 weeks, and then be 3rd string behind Sudfeld once he's back.
And it wouldn't hurt. I mean, like I said, we don't know. Right now, their current backup is in the concussion protocol, so we don't know when he's coming back. So, yeah, it might be worth a look. Absolutely. They got to sign somebody and bring somebody in for the next game because you can't go into a game with just one quarterback.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So a couple things to look out for tonight as the Giants play the Bears. Last week, they were not able to generate a pass rush. The Jets quarterbacks were throwing from a clean pocket all night. Giants, when they're rushing for, they weren't really able to disrupt the pocket. So look for them, hopefully, to improve on that a little bit, and for James Bettcher to, get a little creative in dialing up his blitzes, maybe call some blitzes from the secondary. And at the same time, in the secondary, they had some growing pain issues with DeAndre Baker, Julian Love, and that's to be expected. And even guys like Jabril Peppers, they're new into the system. Peppers almost had an interception at Darnold in the beginning of the game, but later in that game, Julian Love and Peppers had a miscommunication on a crossing route, which led to a big gain. And both Baker and Love were lined up out in the slot, and they had a miscommunication of their own, letting up a touchdown on a rub route that was thrown to the outside receiver where they're supposed to switch men, and instead they just followed one another as if they were in man coverage. So these are all things that could be cleaned up and should be cleaned up in the film room. Unfortunately, Baker, who was the Giants' first-round draft choice and projected starter at the other cornerback position opposite of Janoris Jenkins, sprained his knee in practice on Monday, and he's going to be out probably a couple of weeks now. So that's unfortunate, but it's the next man up philosophy. Corey Ballantyne has been the most impressive Giants rookie defensive back so far this offseason, and he even had an interception last week. So I'm excited to see how he plays this week. With he's clearly the starter, as Sam Beal's also working his way back from some injuries too. So I'm excited to see the improvement of the secondary. It's always tough when you're young. Young talent doesn't always equate to wins, but it's up to these guys to learn and grow in James Bettcher's defense.
Oh, no doubt about it. And that's one thing I like watching about the preseason games is you may have to depend on some of these guys in the regular season because you never know when somebody's going to go down.
Yeah, exactly. And in the NFL, guys go down every game, day of practice. So, you always got to be deep, and you always got to be ready and next man up. That's Bill Belichick's philosophy, and that's why the Patriots are so good, because they're loaded with depth every year.
And one thing I think we can both agree on is you got to be loving the chaos that's going on around the Dallas Cowboys right now with their contract situation.
Yeah, the way things are going, Dak Prescott turning down $30 million is pretty insane, and at the same time, Zeke, it doesn't seem like Zeke is going to come back. It doesn't seem like he's gonna. At least he probably won't be around for Week 1 against the Giants. So I don't really know how that's going to play out. He clearly feels like he deserves to be the highest paid player on the team, like he's the most valuable player of the offense. And Dak believes that he deserves $40 million a season when he's clearly not a $40 million a season quarterback. Maybe he'd be $15 million, but even that would be overpaying him. I know he's won a lot of games, but he's also had the perfect conditions around him with a great offensive line and a great running back. So, guys, sometimes are a little delusional about their self-worth, I guess, but Cowboys are going to have a lot of bickering, and I don't really see how they're going to be able to pay all these players. So, I don't know. It's really a chaotic situation for them right now.
Oh, definitely. And once you pay a couple of these guys the amount of money that they're asking for, you have to cut in other areas. They're not. Somebody gets a bigger slice of the pie, somebody else gets a smaller slice or gets eliminated.
Exactly, and with great teams, like you see Tom Brady is always willing to take a pay cut, for the good of the team. And the Cowboys clearly don't have that group of guys who are willing to do something like that, so it's probably going to have to, when it comes down to it, they're going to have to make their choice. I really think that I would pick Ezekiel Elliott to pay over Amari Cooper or Dak Prescott, because he's clearly the best player, and I know that people say running backs don't last very long, but at the same time, he hasn't really gotten hit too much. He plays behind a really good offensive line, just keeps the line, and there's some good quarterbacks coming out in the next few years, so if they could find a way to draft one of these guys. I don't think Dak is a franchise quarterback. I mean, perfect conditions he is, but at the same time, if you choose to pay him $40 million a season and have to take away other positions, as you just said, then he's not going to be. He's most likely not going to be as good. It's not his ability and his limitations aren't going to be as matched.
Exactly, and my feeling is Dak has a compelling art. When you look at just the paper, right? Put everything down on paper, and you look at what the Eagles are paying Carson Wentz, and Dak and his agent can go in front of Jerry Jones and say, you know what? We've been more durable than Carson Wentz. We played more games than Carson Wentz. We've won more divisions than Carson Wentz. I played in a playoff game, and Carson Wentz has done that, and yet the Eagles are paying Carson Wentz this. Now, I'm not saying that Dak is better than Wentz. Well, you look at the stats, and you look at the what compare the two of them on paper, and on paper you look at it, and Dak has a little bit more over Carson Wentz, but Carson Wentz is obviously the better quarterback. So that creates an interesting dilemma when they're arguing over this contract.
Yeah, no, it does. And that's exactly, I'm sure, what they're saying to Jerry Jones right now. They're saying, yeah, we've actually won things. We've performed, and Wentz hasn't been able to stay on the field, and he got all this money. But at the same time, Wentz has shown he has the ability. He hasn't shown that he's been able to stay on the field, which is a major concern, and that's why I didn't really agree with them paying him his money when they did. But at the same time, he's clearly the better player and more talented than Dak. And, Dak just is someone who, again, he's a winner, which is good, and that's the most important thing. But at the same time, his overall ability is not more valuable than a guy like Ezekiel Elliott or even Amari Cooper.
Yep, absolutely. So, Pat, let everybody know what you got coming up this week at Metsmerize.com and the Giants Wire.
Well, Metsmerize.com will be covering, all the moves that go on during the week and, the Mets schedule as they're fighting for a wild card. And, we'll be monitoring Mickey Callaway to see what moves he screws up during the week and how the Mets do in the stretch. And,
he's going to
we'll
screw
have
up a
Justin
lot.
Hill back pretty soon, and he'll help propel the postseason. But, it all just depends on the Mets handling their own business, and we're also going to be doing some scoreboard watching, of course, because there are a lot of teams involved in this race. And then over at Giants Wire, we're really just going to be covering the preview of Week 3 of the preseason, and when the starters are normally pushed to play their most action of the off season, and we're gonna be recapping what goes on in the game tonight all week, I'm sure, and breaking down and doing film analysis, and also hopefully I'll have an interview coming out with Giants safety Michael Thomas, so keep an eye out for that.
Awesome. Now, one last thing before we let you go. I have been saying for the past month that the Mets would finish ahead of the Phillies. How do you think I'm looking on that prediction?
I think your prediction's looking pretty good, and I think mine's looking pretty bad when I told you they were sellers about a month ago.
You've been saying that since July 14th when I first began at SportsSkillet.
Yep.
My second week at SportsSkillet, you've been saying that.
Yep. So you're saying I'm looking pretty good, Pat?
Yeah, Jay, I think your prediction might actually come true.
All right. Well, can't wait to talk to you next week, Pat. I want you to have a good weekend. Anything going on this weekend? Anything fun you're doing?
I'm probably just hanging out at the pool and, kind of relaxing. Last week I actually covered my first game from the press box for the Mets on Sunday versus the Nationals. So, that was a lot of fun, and it was a long day, though, so probably just kicking back and relaxing this weekend. How about yourself?
I am old, and I found out, and I'm finding out exactly how old I am this weekend, Pat, because I'll be honest with you, I am going to my 30th 30-year high school reunion.
Oh, wow. That's not that old, though, Jay.
I'm just feeling old because I'm looking at my phone is starting to blow up with people posting on Facebook about the reunion and who's going and who's not, and posting pictures from back in the 80s when I was in high school. It's going to be fun, but it also tells you exactly how old I am.
That's all right. You're not even at the 50 mark yet. You're spring chicken.
All right. I appreciate it, Pat. I'm going to have some fun this weekend, and you have some fun,
enjoy.
too.
I will. Thanks, Jay. Enjoy.
All right. You too, Pat.
Don't have
Take care.
too much
I'll
fun.
talk to you next week.
Okay. Can't wait, Pat. Talk to you about more Giants and Mets. Okay, and that was Pat Ragazzo. And, of course, we want to encourage you to give him a follow at Ragazzo Report on Twitter. Keep up with all his comings and going on his Twitter account. Some interesting stuff about the Mets and Giants from Pat there. A lot of good information, as always. So, Pat is always a good follow. And we'll be watching the Giants tonight. We watched the Eagles last night win their second preseason game. So now they are 1-1 in the preseason. Not that wins and losses matter for anything because they're all
meaningless season.
Meaningless.
As your brother would say.
Yes, and he would emphasize meaningless.
Well, hopefully they don't lose any more quarterbacks. So
another quarterback is going to go down in week 3.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I hope not.
Wentz might be playing sooner than he thinks.
No, Wentz we're putting in bubble wrap. We're putting Wentz in bubble wrap, and we're sticking him. Do you ever see those like big kind of air balls or something like that? That people can climb into, and you roll them around or whatever. Okay, so first we're putting Wentz in the bubble wrap, and then we're having him climb into one of those big air ball things so that. We'll roll him around or whatever. We'll slip fruit into him and whatever. He will be Bubble Boy.
And then we'll take him out when it's ready to play?
Exactly.
How you want to do it?
In September.
Take him out in September for week 1.
Exactly. He is not playing it, and I was one of the guys I thought for the longest time that, hey, you know what? Some of the starters need to get banged around just a little bit in the...
Boy, did they.
Yeah.
Broken wrist, a concussion now. What's next? Broken leg?
Concussions are becoming an epidemic in the NFL.
It's always been an epidemic.
Be done.
Well, see, to your point, and now we get into the Antonio Brown situation.
Boy, here we go.
Oh no, that diva.
Yes, now we get into the Antonio Brown thing where he was campaigning on the losing end because his campaign has been rendered null and void, and the NFL has ruled on it that he was trying to bring in and wear his old helmet. It would be a Raiders helmet, but it would be styled in...
it's 10 years old.
Yeah, it would be styled in the fashion of 10 years ago. And, of course, the NFL has restyled their helmets. They have made them more safer because... they don't want the risk of concussions or anything like that. So they've given players, here's, 20, 30 different style helmets, from each manufacturer. You can wear, these are the ones that you are eligible to wear. Find one that suits you, that you're comfortable with. Antonio Brown said, nope, I want to wear one from 10 years ago.
Why does he just go to the manufacturer and say, hey, can you make me a helmet with the new stuff now, but with this augmentation? Like, if he has trouble seeing, tell him that.
Well, see, and that's something he may be able to do. But he'd also have to get approval from the NFL.
But I think he would. If he keeps the updated helmet with the slight modification for him to see, they'll probably look at it and go, okay, it meets our requirements. No problem. And then you have the Antonio Brown helmet. You could sell that.
Yeah.
He's not thinking outside the box.
He should.
He's worried about his hair.
He's thinking too old-fashioned. He's thinking like Bob Barker.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Much respect to the guy. He was my childhood on Price is Right, but Antonio Brown has a Bob Barker mindset. He has to think more like, Alex Trebek, for that matter.
There you go. Somebody who's modern, somebody who's current, somebody who can adapt and wear helmets that are appropriate for preventing concussions.
And if Alex can get rid of the mustache, he can put on a new helmet.
Exactly.
He did grow it back, though.
Shh, don't ruin the image. We're trying to get this.
Oh, okay.
Well, that's the thing. It grows back,
Yeah.
That's the thing. It's like...
you adapt. You have to adapt if you're Antonio Brown. You have to stop being such a petulant little child.
And stop being a diva.
And just go with what the NFL says. The NFL says what you can and can't put in your body as far as...
Did he also say that he'll trade to a different team if they can provide him with a helmet?
He probably said that as well.
I think I read that somewhere. I want to double check that because I'm like, wow.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all because that's just the way Antonio Brown is. And that's why the Pittsburgh Steelers got rid of him. It's like enough with the noise. And to Pittsburgh's credit, this offseason, you really haven't heard a whole lot. They got rid of Le'Veon Bell. They got rid of Antonio Brown. And they've had a virtually quiet training camp. They've been kind of smooth sailing, going along, getting in their work, and that's been about it for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they could wind up being a surprise team this year.
Le'Veon Bell's the Jets' problem. Antonio Brown, you're Oakland's problem now.
Exactly. And who knows if Le'Veon Bell is going to play it all this preseason. I probably wouldn't.
I would not be playing him in the preseason, considering how the Eagles' QB situation has
exactly
played out.
And the Jets are going to have to lean on him heavily this season. So you probably don't want to play Le'Veon Bell. I know he needs to work because he missed all of last season and hasn't played a real NFL down in quite a while. But that being said, you're seeing more and more of these coaches take their starters and just shelve them for the preseason. And
They're
if you're
playing smart, they don't want their starters to get injured before week 1. If you have a starter that gets injured before week 1, you're screwed.
Exactly. Exactly. And there go your playoff hosts. There go your division hosts. There go your wild card hosts and everything down the drain. I mean, look at the Colts with Andrew Luck. He's on the shelf, and we don't know when Andrew Luck is going to come back. He has a nagging injury. It was a calf, and now it looks like it's a high ankle sprain, and we don't know when Andrew Luck is going to come back. And if Andrew Luck can't play for the Colts, I don't know what their chances are of making the postseason.
This is like what happened when Peyton Manning got injured while he was with the Colts. He gets injured, Colts fall to 2-14, they end up picking Andrew Luck. History's repeating itself. Guess where the Colts are going to fall, in my prediction? 2-14.
If Andrew Luck doesn't play, you could be right. If he does play, I think they're a playoff team. But again,
if he does play, I have them at 8-8.
Could be. I mean, I like Frank Reich as a head coach. I like Luck as a quarterback. I think they got a decent team. But again, you're talking about teams improving. I think in the AFC, I think the Jets are going to be better. I think the Bills are going to be better.
I have Jets at 11-5, Bills at 9-7.
Okay.
But I have the Dolphins at 6-10.
I could see that. I don't have a lot of confidence in the Miami Dolphins. So yeah, I could see the Dolphins going 6-10 this season. But I think the Bills are going to be better than a lot of people are giving them credit for. And I think the Jets are going to be a lot better than some people are giving them credit.
The Browns are going to be better. I have them at 10-6. Finally making the playoffs.
Could be.
I have the benchmark for the AFC playoffs set at 10 wins.
Okay. I can see that. I would say if you're going to be a playoff team, you would have to get to at least 10 wins. I don't see a team going 9-7 and making the playoffs.
Not in the AFC. In the NFC, though, that's a different story. NFC East, 9-7 would get you in. That is a down division. It is down. Eagles quarterback situation is horrible. Aside from Wentz.
Exactly. See, and that's where I think I disagree with you. Because I think the Eagles are probably going to go 11-4, maybe 12-5.
12-4 for the Eagles.
Yep.
I have the Eagles at 12-4.
Yep.
I have the Cowboys at 10-6. Giants, if they played our cards, I can go 8-8.
Okay.
But the Redskins, after seeing Dwayne Haskins play in the first preseason game, I have them at 6-10.
I agree with you there. I don't think that Dwayne Haskins is ready for NFL action. For regular season action. I think he needs time to be groomed a little bit more, practice a little bit more, learn the tempo of the game a little bit more, learn the playbook more, get more relaxed, and then maybe next season I would bring in Dwayne Haskins. But if you're gonna bring him in this season, I don't see, unless it's very late, like in December and the Redskins are out of it. I just would not want to start Dwayne Haskins at the start of the season.
And I agree with you there. Out of the South, it's the Saints division, no question about it. North, it's either going to be the Packers or it'll be the Vikings. I don't see much for the Bears this season. I have them going 9-7. Vikings at 13-3. Packers 11-5. And in the West, it's got to be the LA Rams. No question.
Yeah, I would give you the Rams. I think the 49ers are going to improve because they're going to get Jimmy G back. So
I have the Niners at 7-9, Cardinals 5-11, Seahawks 11-5.
Yeah, I could see something like that. The Cardinals have their rookie quarterback, but again, he's going to be learning, and you also have a rookie head coach, so we don't know how well those two are going to gel together. As far as that goes, that's going to be compelling to watch.
Wait, didn't Kyler Murray work with the new Cardinals head coach?
He did.
Oklahoma.
Yep. Well, he wanted to draft him, but I don't believe the two of them work together. But both of them have an affinity for each other, and he runs an offense that benefits Kyler Murray.
So I may have to modify my Cardinals prediction 5-11 to 7-9.
Okay.
Possibly 8-8 if the Cardinals play their cards right.
Yep, and I think Seattle will be, maybe 8-8, 9-7, somewhere around there. I don't know whether Seattle's going to grab. I mean, you can't ever put anything past the Seattle Seahawks, but
especially Russell
Wilson. So I think they're going to be kind of that 8-8, 9-7 team. Tampa Bay,
I have at 6-10.
Yeah, maybe a little better. I like their head coach, but I don't know if Jameis Winston is a starting quarterback in the NFL. And I like what they did coaching-wise, but I just don't have a lot of confidence in Jameis Winston as a leader. I just, as a starting quarterback, I just don't.
Atlanta, that's a special case. I have them going 10-6, but I have them missing the playoffs.
They could.
In the North, I have the Bears 9-7, missing the playoffs.
Okay.
And, oh my God, I always forget the last team in the North Division.
Well, you got Minnesota, and you got Green Bay, and you got Detroit.
Oh, Detroit. I'm sorry, Detroit fans. 5-11.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Because they're the Lions, and they always tend to mess up.
I agree with you.
0-16.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Matt Patricia, I'm not too fond of as a head
Matt Patricia is not NFL head coaching material.
Agreed.
I mean, that is what I said about Pat Shurmur. That is what I said about who's the other Giants head coach? I tend to forget him too.
They've had a couple of regrettable head coaches, especially the last one. But
Jim Fossil was kind of regrettable.
Yep.
Tom Coughlin, no regrets.
I agree.
He's a strict disciplinarian and doesn't take losing well.
No,
Failure's not an option with Tom Coughlin.
No, I agree with you there, and I'm interested to see. And of course, Philadelphia is going to be paying attention to the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Jacksonville is very much improved. I have them going 12-4 in the AFC South.
They could. I mean, because
maybe 13-3.
They could
winning that division.
They could because I've said for the past couple of seasons that Blake Bortles has held them back. 2 seasons ago they made the AFC Championship game or fell just short.
Made it. I think they made it last season to the AFC title game.
And and they fell just short to the Patriots. And I've been saying that Bortles has. Last season I believe they went 5-11. And it was the season before.
It was the season before that they got to the AFC title game. Last year was 5-11.
And I've been saying that Blake Bortles has held this team back. They've been, they have some talent, but
it was Bortles
that held them back. Now they are rebuilding a little bit, and it'll be interesting to see how big of a difference having a reliable quarterback like Nick Foles does for the Jaguars. For the Tennessee Titans in that division,
11-5. Marcus Mariota is a difference maker. No question about that.
We're going to find out this year.
He can burn you with his arms. He can burn you with his legs. He has weapons offensively. He has an offensive line to protect him.
But can he stay healthy?
Can he stay healthy? That's the thing. If he can stay healthy, 11-5 for Tennessee. If not, I'm going to set the bar back 2 wins to 9-7.
Yeah. I just don't know. And this is a big season because I believe after the season, Mariota can become a free agent. So
that may prove troublesome for Tennessee. I have the Texans at 9-7 as well in the AFC South division. And
Indianapolis Colts.
8-8 if Luck plays. If not, 2-14.
Yep. I can maybe a little bit better than that, but not much.
West, that's going to be the Chargers at 12-4. 10-6 for the Chiefs. 6-10.
I can't see the Chiefs going 10-6. I can't see the Chiefs going 10-6. Chiefs are probably going to make the AFC Championship game this year. I see them going maybe 13-3 or 12-4. Just because they are so stacked. And when you have the kind of quarterback that they have, and Tyreek Hill and the talent around him that they have, I can see the Chiefs going maybe 13-3 or 12-4 at the worst.
I see the Raiders going 6-10 if Antonio Brown does not play. If he does play, I have them going 10-6. Well, the West.
And then you got the Chargers in there.
Chargers, I have 11-5.
Okay.
Oh, I know.
And the Denver Broncos are in there as well.
Broncos, I have 7-9.
I can agree with that. I just have never been a Joe Flacco. I'm kind of a Joe Flacco fan. I think he's okay. I don't know that he's a difference-making quarterback. And when you have that division being as loaded as it is with the Chargers and the Chiefs.
The Raiders.
Yep. I don't know how much of a difference maker Joe Flacco is going to be for that team. But then you have Joe Flacco playing for his NFL, career, kind of rebuilding his reputation and that type of thing. But I just don't know that he's a difference-making quarterback.
And North, that's the Steelers, no question.
Yeah, I kind of like the Browns as being an entertaining team. I just think there's a lot of noise around the Cleveland Browns. And that people are going to go in there, and for a team that hasn't accomplished a thing in quite a while, to go in there and be as boisterous as they are with as much noise as they've been making, it's putting a bullseye on them. And yes, these guys on their team like Odell and
Jarvis Landry and Baker Mayfield
are putting these big bullseye on him, especially Baker Mayfield. I mean, he's like a look-at-me quarterback, doing all these things, at games and stuff like that. And that's fine. I have nothing against it if you can back it up. But you're doing it, and you better be able, but you're doing it before you do anything, before you accomplish anything. So this bullseye is right there on the front of your chest saying, take me down, come after me, hit me with your best shot. And teams are going to do that. Teams are going to show them you haven't accomplished anything. Welcome to the big time, guys. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can do that. And I believe Odell is already hurt right now. So that's going to be an interesting thing for the Cleveland Browns. Cincinnati, I don't put a lot of stock in at all. I think they're going to...
Baltimore, I'm not putting a lot of stock in. Cincinnati, no stock in. Baltimore 7-9 and Cincinnati 5-11.
Yeah, I don't know if the running game of Baltimore is going... I mean, they're going to be a run-centric team with their quarterback and their running game. We're going to see how well they can do with that. I don't know how much stock I put in Baltimore. So, yeah, you probably have the Pittsburgh Steelers once again winning the division. Yep. So That's what we got there. But I know Mike follows NASCAR, and we had an event, sad event.
Dale Jr. and family plane crash in Tennessee. None were hurt, but Jr. remains hospitalized. He is currently set to broadcast the Irwin Tools night race on NBCSN Saturday, 7:30 p.m. If he's able to do that. And I'm picking Brad Keselowski to complete the sweep at Bristol.
Really? Do you think anyone there? Who do you think will be his top challenger?
Top challenger? I have 3 top challengers for Keselowski. 1, his own teammate, Ryan Blaney.
Okay.
2nd, his arch foe, Kyle Busch. And 3rd, my guy, Chase Elliott.
Okay. So how big of a gap do you think it is between him and Chase Elliott?
Not that big a gap. I think Chase has it on the short tracks. It's just a matter of getting it done on the short tracks, especially Bristol, which I consider to be the little brother to Dover, where Chase has won in the past. If Chase can get it done at Dover, he can potentially get it done Saturday night at Bristol.
Okay, and where do you think that, if he does get it done at Bristol, where do you think that propels him in the standings?
It may just as well propel him to second in the standings, right behind Kyle Busch.
Excellent. And how big of a gap in the standings would that be between the two of them?
Just one more win. It's
just one more? Okay.
It's win and you move up. Win and you're into the chase.
Okay, so is there a big gap right now between the two of them in the standings? No?
Not right now. Just 2 wins. One more and he's up to second in the standings with then 2 races left before the playoffs begin.
And then things get really interesting.
Really interesting. 16 drivers, 10 races. It's going to get real fun real soon.
Now, again, I'll ask you this. Has your prediction changed at all? Who do you think is going to come out of that playoff as the champion?
My prediction is going to be Kevin Harvick.
Okay.
Getting his 2nd title.
Now, why do you predict Harvick?
Harvick has been the best at all of the chase tracks. Only one he hasn't been good at is the Charlotte Roval, and that's only because they've only been doing that for 1 year. Only ran once at the Charlotte Roval. I think Harvick can get it done at the Charlotte Roval race. It's just a matter of, does he have the setup? Does he have the crew to do it? And does he have enough road course experience to do it?
Gotcha. We will have to find that out as we go forward. I'm going to be asking you more questions about NASCAR. Mike, as we go along here on the SportsSkillet LiveStream, so we want to encourage everybody to follow NASCAR as we do here on SportsSkillet. And any final words, guys, as we close out the live stream?
Not really. Just really just looking forward to see what the Eagles bring next, and hopefully no more injuries. That's all I care about.
Yes.
I'm like, come on, let's get to the season.
With every team.
Get the concussions out of the way. It's one thing to push your skills, but I mean, backup quarterbacks, I think, are trying too hard. I'm like, you're going to get there.
Yep.
Just be patient.
Exactly. You will find it. There will be a time when you get a
Carson
starter.
Wentz will get himself hurt, and then you'll be fine.
Yep.
Yeah.
And backup quarterbacks are only a play away from being a starting quarterback.
Exactly. Carson Wentz is going to hurt himself soon, and you're going to be fine.
Hopefully not, because if Carson Wentz hurts himself and misses multiple games,
Eagles are screwed.
Yeah, pretty much.
Maybe.
I mean, it depends on Sudfeld, but Carson Wentz to Sudfeld is a pretty big drop, I think.
We'll
really.
see.
We will see. Any final words, Mike?
I'm just ready for this Mets series against the Royals.
That's going to be a big
sweep of the Royals.
Sweep for the Royals. I am looking for a sweep.
I predict a sweep of the Royals by the Mets.
I am looking for a sweep from the Phillies against the San Diego Padres. They kick off that.
Not happening.
Mike says it's not going to happen. If it doesn't happen, we go back to the Fire Gabe Kapler watch, I think.
Hashtag impeach Kapler. I've already got articles of impeachment up against Kapler.
Hashtag Coach Fanatic. I'm still on that.
Actually, I do have one more thing since we are talking a little bit of baseball. Mike, you came out with a new article. I do want to mention this about the hit king Charlie Hustle, Pete Rose, going into the Hall of Fame.
Should he get in? His stats speak for themselves. 4,256 hits. He's played 5 different positions, 17 times an All-Star with 4 teams. He's approaching 80 years old. Let him live to see his All-Star induction, his Hall of Fame induction. Let him live to see himself get into Cooperstown. He's done his time. Let him get in, please.
And I would agree with you on that point, because you look at teams now, and yes, the reason he's out of baseball is because of his
gambling addiction.
Yep.
He's doing it legally now, and there are players who have done worse and still gotten in. Roger Clemens is still on the ballot. He's likely to get in. Jeff Bagwell was named on the Mitchell Report. He's gotten in. Alex Rodriguez is due on the ballot, I think, next year. And I think he'll get in too.
He very well could. And you have the hit king in baseball who's not in there. And you look at the way teams, basketball teams, hockey teams are looking at Vegas and are looking at Atlantic City, and you look at gambling in general. And yes, if you cause your team wins or losses, I agree. You should be slapped and you should be penalized for that, because we can't have
match fixing.
Yes, we can't have
fixing anything has been outlawed since the game show scandals.
Exactly. And we saw that in the NBA where the official got banned. Donaghy, exactly, got banned. So as long as you are not affecting the outcome of games.
The only thing Pete Rose did to affect the outcome of a game is he played in it. He did whatever he could to help his team win. That's the only thing he did.
And managed, and created lineups. And that's how. So, yes, Pete Rose did affect the outcome of the games. So, yes, Pete Rose, deservedly so, because he affected wins and losses in the outcome of games and players' careers. Yes, he deserved to be penalized. But
he's done his time.
Yes.
It's been 30 years. Let him get into the Hall of Fame.
Exactly, 110%. I agree with you, Mike. He's done his time. He's the hit king. Players have done worse. So allow Pete Rose into. You don't have to allow him back into Major League Baseball, because the Hall of Fame and baseball are 2 separate entities, but allow him just to get into the Hall of Fame.
Jeff, what say you? Should Pete Rose get in? Has he done his time?
Hashtag Pete Rose fame. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Hashtag let him in. Let Pete Rose in. Hashtag let Pete Rose in.
Okay, so wait, what are your 2 hashtags, Mike? Let me write.
Hashtag let Pete Rose in.
Let Pete Rose in.
And for the Phillies, hashtag impeach Kapler.
Impeach Kapler. Gotcha.
And you know what mine are? Hashtag Coach Fanatic.
Coach.
Still think they'll do better with him.
You're not wrong.
You're not. You know what? You were proven right, Jeff. And you know how you were proven right is because
Madden screwed up.
No, because Charlie Manuel is currently the hitting coach of the Philadelphia Phillies. So you were proven absolutely correct, because if Kapler,
if Kapler does get himself impeached,
because if Gabe Kapler was this all-encompassing great manager, you know what? Charlie Manuel would not be the hitting coach right now of the Philadelphia Phillies. It would, they would stay with John Millay, and he would still be there, and there would be no Charlie Manuel in the Phillies dugout. So that's how bad Gabe Kapler had been mismanaging the Phillies, that they had to bring back Charlie Manuel.
So a new hashtag, Jeff was right.
Yes! Yes.
Thank you.
Jeff Scott is right. Yes.
And you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen.
That is right.
Jay admitted it.
In this case, you are correct. Absolutely. And you were proven that way.
Okay, I want no part of that argument.
No worries, no worries.
All right. All right. But we want to thank everybody for joining us here on the SportsSkillet LiveStream. Again, you can find us here every Friday afternoon on YouTube. And we want to encourage you, we want to give you the opportunity to join our Pick'em League. And if you join our Pick'em League and subscribe on our YouTube channel or follow us on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram, we will give you a link so you can go head-to-head Pick'em League with Joe Montana, the Hall of Fame quarterback, former 49ers quarterback. And it's real simple. Join our Pick'em League. Give us a follow or like or subscription on YouTube, and we will send you the link, and you can go head-to-head with Joe Montana. Unique opportunity for all our fans, all our listeners here on YouTube and on Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey for being such great fans and
Joe
followers.
Montana, you're going down.
There you go, Mike. I like that attitude. I like it. Joe Montana, you're going down, and one of us at SportsSkillet Radio is going to beat you. Mike,
That'll be me.
That could be Mike. So, again.
Don't underestimate me, Jerry.
I don't underestimate you at all, but we need you to go in, Mike. We need you to go in and sign up.
I already have.
All right, cool. So, this is good. We got Mike in, we got me in, we're getting everybody in, and we want you to see you there as well. So, again, all the rules is join our Pick'em League.
Pick who you want to think will win each game each week.
Yep.
And see if you can beat Joe Montana.
Yes, we want you to do that. So thanks everybody. We want you to have a great week. And
Live
again,
long and prosper, sports fans.
You got it. And again, 11 a.m. Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey. We'll be there on Sunday morning, and you don't want to miss a show, so go into sportsskilletradio.com, download the app, and you can listen to us wherever you may be. Thanks, everyone, and we want to let you know to have a great week, and we will be back next Friday afternoon. Have a great week, everybody. If I can get the logo up here.
We out.
You can do it.
I can do it. And there we go.
Mic drop.